This is the first lesson in our proportions unit. We're going to talk about how to solve proportions. What we need to do first is just make sure we know what a proportion is. Proportions are two ratios that are equal. We have this 4/5 equaling 8/10. This is a proportion. 4/5 is a ratio, 8/10 is a ratio, and when you set two ratios equal to each other, you have a proportion. That's all a proportion is, just two ratios that are equal. Some kids will say, oh, it's two fractions that are equal. Same concept. A fraction is a ratio. So two ratios equal to each other are a proportion. Now we're going to learn some cool things about proportions. We're going to talk about the cross product rule. For any proportion, the products of the diagonal numerators and denominators will be equal. It's kind of hard to understand in writing, but let's check it out in action. So we have this 4/5 equaling 8/10. The diagonal numerators and denominators, there's a numerator and denominator that are diagonal, and there we are also. When you multiply those, the 5 times 8 and 4 times 10, they should both be equal. And in this case, 40 equals 40. It's true. Let's do another one. We have 5/10 equaling 2/4. We know that these are both equal to begin with because both of them become 1/2 in lowest terms. But let's just set these two equal to each other and let's see if this cross product rule works. We've got the 10 and 2, the 5 and 4. When we multiply the diagonals, 10 times 2 equals 5 times 4. They both work out to 20. So it's a true statement again. 20 equals 20. Now we're going to get a little bit weird here. We're going to take this and do variables. Now a lot of kids are going to panic. But all you have to do is do the same thing. You look at the diagonal variables, you look at the diagonal variables, and you multiply them. B times C equals A times D. BC equals AD. It's the same concept with unknowns. This is going to come in handy as you move forward, though, in this proportions unit. We're going to go ahead and check it out right now. Solving for incomplete proportions. We apply the cross product rule, then solve for the variable. So let's just check this out in action. We have 6/8 equaling 9 something. We can use the cross product rule to say that 8 times 9 is going to be equal to 6 times n. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my 6 times n over on the left side because I like to have the variable on the left side whenever possible. But you could have also done 8 times 9 over here and 6 times n over here. Not a big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and work out this 8 times 9. And then we're going to do like what we learned in our equations unit to solve for n. I'm going to divide both sides by 6 to get rid of the coefficient. And we have n equaling 12. So 6/8 is going to equal 9/12. That mystery number is going to be 12. Let's go ahead. You can pause the video right now. Try some of these out. So if you've paused it and tried working on that on your own, this is hopefully what you wrote down. You could do your n times 9, 6 times 15. Those are the diagonal products. I'm going to go ahead and write it as 9 times n equals 6 times 15. You work out the side that you're able to work out. And then you can divide both sides by the coefficient. And that ends up working out n equals 10. So 6/10 equals 9/15. Over on the right side, you could do 10 times m, 8 times 5. Those are your equivalent products. You can do this 8 times 5. You can work that out further and get a 40. And then you can divide both sides by 10, solving for the variable by getting rid of the coefficient. Divide out the 10. You get 4. So 8/10 equals 4/5. Now a lot of kids might have been able to figure this one out just by looking at 8/10. I'm going to write it again down at the bottom. Some kids might look at it and immediately see that you can divide both sides by 2. If I divide 10 by 2, I can also divide 8 by 2 to get the 4. Sometimes they're obvious, sometimes they're not. I'm going to show you this cross product trick a few more times. Go ahead and try these out. You'll notice probably that something weird happens. Go ahead and pause it and see what you can do. Alright, so if you paused it, worked it out, you'd do your cross product rule for this first one, and you'd say 8 times n equals 5 times 3. Now some kids might be comfortable enough to immediately write down that it works out to 15. You don't have to always write out the 5 times 3. You could just write out the result. So 8n equals 15. Well, when I solve for n and divide both sides by 8, that 8 does not fit nicely into the 15. Not a big deal. You can make it into a mixed fraction. So 8 goes into 15 once with 7 left over. Or if you type it in a calculator, 15 divided by 8, you're going to get this as an answer. Either one is acceptable. Your teacher will probably let you know which one they'd prefer. So over here we have 5 times m being diagonal products and 9 times 6 also being diagonal. So we have the 5 times n equals 9 times 6. That 9 times 6 is 54. Once again, you could have skipped this step. Some teachers will make you write this out for the starting part. After a while, though, they'll be okay with you going straight to this because 9 times 6 directly gives you 54. So then we divide both sides by the 5. Once again, 5 doesn't fit nicely in there. You can rewrite it as a mixed fraction or a decimal. 5 fits in there 10 times with 4 left over, so 10 and 4/5 or 10 and 8/10. So we're going to show you one more slide. This is the trick. You've done all these steps. Some teachers are going to require you to do these steps all the time, but there is a trick you can use. Now this comes in handy when you have a calculator at all times. The trick. You multiply the diagonals, then divide by the other number. So the variable is going to be the result of this. You multiply the diagonals, then divide by the other number. Here's one. Okay, we've got 3/4 equaling n over 7. You can multiply the diagonals and divide by the other guy. So you'd type in your calculator 7 times 3 divided by 4. Or 3 times 7 divided by 4. And you end up getting 5.25 on your calculator, which is going to be the missing number. You might also, 0.25 is also going to be the 1/4 as a fraction, so 5 and 1/4 would also be acceptable. Let's go ahead and try a few more on your own. Pause it, see if you can figure these out using this trick. So if you've paused it, you're going to hopefully you've got some good answers. Over on this one, top right, we've got the 8 times 3 divided by 12 or 3 times 8 divided by 12. You multiply the diagonals, divide by the other guy. Multiply the diagonals, divide by the other guy. So you have 8 times 3 divided by 12. That's going to end up working out to 2. It works out to 2. Some kids might say that it would be easier just to divide the top by 4 and the bottom by 4 to get that, and that is acceptable. Over here we've got the 5 times 5 divided by 2. 5 times 5 divided by 2, that ends up working out to 12.5 or 12 5/10. Finally, we've got some larger numbers, but not a big deal. If you have a calculator, you just type in 9 times 24 divided by 6 or 24 times 9 divided by 6. Either one works. You type them all in and you end up getting 36. So R is 36 for this one. And that is about it. Hope this helps. Best of luck to you.